Imagine a world without permission, a frictionless market where the only rule is individual consent, where governments, banks, and corporations have no power to monitor your choices or to restrict what you can buy. To a brilliant, quiet physics graduate named Ross Ulbricht, this wasn't just a fantasy, it was a moral imperative. He saw the world not as a society of laws, but as a collection of prisons. And he believed that technology, specifically cryptography and Bitcoin, could build the key. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't a cartel boss. He was a devout libertarian, a student of Austrian economics. And in 2011, he decided to turn his ideology into code. He started a digital marketplace, a sanctuary for the forbidden. He called it Silk Road. His mission was noble in his own eyes, to create a parallel economy free from the tyranny of the state. He wanted to use technology to defeat violence, but in doing so, he would unlock a digital Pandora's box that would lead him from a quantum mechanics lab to the darkest corner of the internet, a corner from which there is no escape. Welcome to Exploit Docs. To build Silk Road, Ross had to weave together three revolutionary technologies. The first was the Tor network, the Onion router, originally created by the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. Tor encrypts your traffic and bounces it through thousands of volunteer computers, making it mathematically impossible to trace. This was the perfect invisibility cloak for his server. The second was Bitcoin. In 2011, Bitcoin was an obscure experiment for cypherpunks. It was anonymous, decentralized, and irreversible. The ideal currency for a shadow economy. The third technology was trust. Ross understood that for a market of criminals to work, there had to be an enforcement mechanism. The Exploit Docs was that mechanism. The site implemented an escrow system. You didn't pay the drug dealer directly, you paid the site. The site only released the funds after the package arrived. Silk Road wasn't just a website. It is a digital ecosystem of trust among thieves. Ross took a pseudonymo. He called himself Dread Pirate Roberts, a reference to the man who passes his title and legend down in The Princess Bride. He became a ghost, a legend. He built a billion-dollar empire from a keyboard in San Francisco. The rise of Silk Road did not go unnoticed. It became a national obsession for U.S. law enforcement, a marketplace where anyone, anywhere could buy pure heroin, deadly toxins, or fake passports, and have them delivered by the U.S. Postal Service was an insult to the war on drugs. The FBI, the DEA, and even the IRS created dedicated task forces to bring down Dread Pirate Roberts. But they were fighting a ghost. Traditional investigative techniques were useless. Tor hide the server, Bitcoin hide the money. They needed a technical mistake. The investigation was a digital siege, and the pressure was breaking everyone. In a twisted turn of events, the hunt became as corrupt as the prey. A lead agent in the DEA, Carl Force, began to extort Dread Pirate Roberts for more than $500,000 in Bitcoin, using his official position to help and then blackmail the suspect. While the FBI was trying to save lives, its own agents were stealing the very cryptocurrency that fueled the crime. The boundaries between the good guys and the bad guys were starting to dissolve into digital noise. Every empire built on shadows eventually faces a choice: adapt or perish. By 2013, the weight of the Silk Road was crushing Ross Ulbricht. He wasn't just a physicist anymore. He was a target. Inside his digital fortress, The walls were closing in. He began to suspect that his own employees were stealing from him, that the very people he trusted to build his utopia were dismantling it from within. It was here, in the cold glow of a laptop screen, that the libertarian idealist met the desperate criminal. When a staff member was arrested and a large sum of Bitcoin vanished, Ross didn't call the police. He couldn't. Instead, he reached out to a hitman on his own site. "I want him handled," he allegedly wrote. He was no longer just trading code. He was trading lives. He authorized a hit for $80,000 in Bitcoin. What he didn't know was that the hitman didn't exist. He was chatting with an undercover agent. The blood he thought was on his hands was just a digital trap. The pirate was becoming a monster, and the trap was about to spring. October 1st, 2013, San Francisco. A bright, mundane afternoon at the Glen Park Public Library. Ross Ulbricht walks in, finds a seat in the science fiction section, and opens his Samsung laptop. He logs in as Dread Pirate Roberts. He is at the height of his power, controlling a billion-dollar empire while sitting next to elderly residents reading newspapers. But the library is a stage. The couple arguing loudly behind him? FBI agents? The librarian shelving books? An undercover investigator? They needed one thing: the laptop. Open. If Ross closed the lid, the encryption would lock the data forever, and the case would die. Suddenly, the couple breaks into a physical scuffle. Ross, startled by the noise, turns his head to look. In that microsecond of distraction, an agent swipes the laptop from the table. Before he can reach for the keyboard, he is tackled. "Police, don't move." The silence of the library is shattered. The digital ghost is finally flesh and bone. Ross Ulbricht, the most elusive man on the internet, is caught, not by a complex hack, but by a simple, human distraction. The Silk Road has reached its end. The trial was a spectacle of the digital age. The evidence was overwhelming. Thousands of chat logs, a personal diary, and a massive fortune in Bitcoin. The sentence was a message to the world: double life imprisonment, plus 40 years. No possibility of parole. Ross Ulbricht was sent to a maximum security prison to spend the rest of his natural life behind bars for a nonviolent crime. To some, he is a martyr, a victim of a government terrified by the freedom of the internet. To others, he is a dangerous kingpin who facilitated death and addiction on a global scale. Today, Silk Road is a ghost, but its legacy is everywhere. From the rise of Monero to the explosion of decentralized finance, Ross's experiment changed the DNA of the web forever. He wanted to build a road to freedom, but he ended up in a 6-by-9-foot cell. As you watch this, Ross is still there, staring at a concrete wall, while the digital world he helped create continues to burn. I am Marcus, and this has been The Exploit Docs. If you believe information should be free, or if you believe some doors should stay locked, leave a comment. The shadows are watching. Subscribe before the next leak goes live.